Alrighty, welcome back to another episode, guys. I'm so happy you're here. So, this episode today is all about self talk. And the interesting thing is that I actually wrote this outline about a week or two ago, maybe. And I just reread over it today before I decided to come on. And it was actually, I was like, I wrote this? Did I write this? You know what I mean? I actually really needed to hear that for myself today. So I know this is going to resonate with you guys. All right, let's dive in. Let's talk self-talk. This is something that you are probably familiar with or have at least heard people talk about, right? But what exactly is it? And how does it affect you in your life? And how does it affect the people around you and even the world as a whole? Self-talk is something that I believe is way underrated in society today. What is self-talk? You know that little voice inside your head that is talking your ear off all day long? The one that sometimes feels as if it's spinning you in circles until you go mad, telling you that you are too fat or too ugly or too stupid to live a miraculous life. Or is that just me? Well, that is your self-talk. The thoughts that you allow your mind to think about yourself and your life is your internal self-talk dialogue. Whether you are conscious of it or not, and whether you want to believe it or not, this dialogue is shaping your reality. Yes, you heard me right. Whatever you allow yourself to think and in turn believe becomes your life. So just take a moment to bring your awareness to your inner dialogue and just observe. See what you notice without judgment, without trying to change anything. Just watch your thoughts for a moment as if you're watching the waves kiss the sand. Now ask yourself, what is the nature of my self-talk? Give yourself grace in this moment. You are doing intense healing work on yourself right now just by bringing your awareness back to yourself, so do not be upset or discouraged by what you might find there. A lot of us have a self-talk dialogue that is pretty derogatory and demeaning on ourselves, constantly telling us what we are not or what we cannot have or be or do. Well, I am here to tell you right now that if you are hearing those voices in your head saying those types of nasty things to you about you, then it is not of you. And it is certainly, definitely, 100% not the truth. Do you want to know how I know that it's not the truth and that it's not of you? Really quick before I answer, just take a moment to ask yourself that question. How do I know if this voice is of me or not, and how can I tell if it's truth or lies? Got your answer? It's very simple, actually. It is not love. I'll repeat that. It is not love. If what you are hearing in your mind is not loving and does not light you up and make you feel like a superstar and just an amazing person, then it is the darkness trying to infiltrate your being with lies. Yes, you are hearing me right. The darkness that is just here to feed its cause by living its purpose unapologetically, which a lot of us could probably take notes on, myself included. But that is a whole other story for a whole other episode. But my point is that it is so easy to change our self-talk dialogue because it is inside your mind and you have complete control over every aspect of your mind, right? Are you saying, yeah, right, this bitch is cray-cray trying to tell me that I have complete control over what my mind thinks? I've been listening to it my whole life, and I can tell you right now that I think there's plenty of things in there that are crazy, and there is nothing I can do about it because that's just the way my brain works. I definitely cannot control it. Is that what you're saying? Well, if that is what you heard when I said that you can control your thoughts, then you can go ahead and just say, "What's up?" to the darkness in your mind, because you just saw firsthand what I'm talking about. But I don't understand what she means. I can just hear your thoughts now. I don't get it. How can this be the darkness when it literally sounds just like my own voice? Yeah, yep, I know. That is part of the whole act that the darkness plays. It knows its role and it plays it well. Too well sometimes. The darkness knows that if it came in sounding all like, well, darkness, then you would see right through it and never listen to it to begin with. The darkness gets its power from you by pretending to be of you, to trick you into believing the lies that you are being fed because you think it is coming from within yourself. So of course it must be true, right? Wrong. A few years ago, I read an amazing book called The Untethered Soul, and it changed my whole view of what it means to be a human on this planet. And if you haven't read it and you are wanting more clarity on what I mean when I speak about selecting your thoughts, then I highly recommend checking it out. But it states that you can literally use your mind like a tool, no different from how you use your hand to pick up your glass to take a sip of water. You can select your thoughts just as you select your clothes to wear each day. Is your mind blown yet? Of course, you cannot always control every thought that finds its way into your awareness. The darkness will make sure of that. But you can most certainly control whether you choose to keep your awareness on that thought or send it away in exchange for something better. Practicing this skill, and yes, it is a skill in my own life, has been paramount in my own self-transformation and evolution. It takes patience for sure, and you might not get it right every time, and we so easily can find ourselves sucked back into that toxic dialogue that we have grown accustomed to telling ourselves. But just have compassion with yourself when you see this happening, and gently guide your mind to something you prefer to think about. Something that brings you joy or love or wisdom or hope, anything that gives you those warm, tingly feelings inside. You know when your body gives you that pleasure signal, like you found the special itch spot on a pup? You know what I'm talking about? That's where you want to keep your awareness planted. Training the mind is one of the most difficult, but also rewarding responsibilities that a human has on this planet. We are 100% responsible for what we allow our minds to think. What we think becomes what we believe, which shapes our view of reality. Letting your mind tell you that you are worthless and stupid, and why do you even keep trying anyways, shapes a reality revolved around these beliefs. Which does what? Reiterate those beliefs as they are reflected back to us. This is where the law of attraction steps in, like, oh, hey girl, I see that you believe that the world is a terrible and awful place full of terrible and awful people who only do terrible and awful things. So let me make sure that you are right by sending you everything to affirm those beliefs. And I'm sure you have seen this play out in your own life. Lord knows I have. And I didn't even recognize it for what it really was, which is me cursing myself. And if you're thinking those things, then you're cursing yourself. Just go ahead and get that straight inside your head. No, instead we choose to be all like, see, I told you so. I told you. Didn't I tell you? Did you see the news the other day? It is so terrible and awful. I knew it was going to be like this. I just knew it. I remember the first time that this was revealed to me in my own life by a friend of mine who has a few years on me and a lot of wisdom, no doubt. I was driving a 30 to 45 minute commute to Atlanta to work in the pharmacy several times a week. I did this on and off for a couple of years. I was going through a really hard time in my personal life during this time as well, so my mindset was far from clear and positive. But I didn't even know about mindset work yet. This is what led me to it. I was driving a Jeep Wrangler at the time, and they have an almost completely vertical windshield. If you've ever noticed, they literally go straight up and down. And it's like a magnet for rocks flying up off the road, or so I thought it was anyway. I had already had my windshield repaired about 3 or 4 times and completely replaced a couple of times as well. I just have the worst luck, I would tell myself all the time. So one day I was driving to work behind a semi-truck, and I was watching the tires spin in front of me, all the while thinking to myself, I just know a rock is about to fly out of that tire and hit my windshield. I just know it. I just know it's going to happen again, and my windshield is going to be busted again. I just know it. That is just my luck. I was literally envisioning in my mind's eye, over and over and over, I could literally see the rock flying up and hitting my windshield and cracking it. And I could feel the frustration of another cracked windshield pulsing through my body as if it had actually happened. Can you guess what happened next? Yep, it happened. Everything I was worried about in this entire scenario that I kept playing over and over in my mind happened exactly the way I saw it happening. And it happened almost instantaneously. Well, needless to say, I was beyond furious. I had just been affirmed that this was my luck, and now I need to quit my job because it was just too far of a drive, and it definitely not worth it when I have to repair or replace my windshield every other month. I could have just gotten over into another lane when I had thought that in the first place, but oh no, I had to prove myself right. This was a big wake-up call from the universe for me. I finally got to work, and I started venting to my coworker about what had just happened and telling her all about my solution to quit and how there is just no other way because I can't keep having this happen, blah, 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 blah. My pity party did not even faze her in the slightest. I will never forget the wisdom that she so gently laid at my feet for me to take or leave as I pleased. She said, "Have you ever thought that by you continuously thinking that way, you are actually attracting those experiences into your life?" What? No, I was beyond offended. Oh yeah, sure, like that is even possible. If I can do that, then I need to be using my superpowers for something way better than attracting rocks to my windshield. That was my reply. Yes, the irony. I know. She said nothing after that, but I know now that she was sitting there thinking, yeah, kind of my point. It's amazing how some lessons we learn don't actually sink in until several years later. I'm happy this one finally did. Thank God for this amazing friend of mine who was just so patient and compassionate with a lost girl that was a few years younger than herself. She later told me that I reminded her of herself at my age, which I am sure is how she was able to always be so kind towards me when I was so confused and angry during that time. How special it is that we have certain angels brought into our lives at different times to help guide us. And I am beyond grateful for all of them. Even and especially the ones who taught me the hardest, most challenging lessons of my life so far. And I never thought that I would be grateful for them. It took me a long time to move past the hurt and the anger that I experienced for so long and actually see the situation and the experience for what it was, which was a lesson and a gift. But it takes a lot of transforming and self-work to get to that point. But the point of this story was to just show you that our thoughts truly are that powerful. And yes, I was using my superpowers in the wrong way, which is without intention. I was intentionally hurting myself, but unintentionally, if that makes sense. Self-talk helps me to remember who I am and how to use my superpowers for good in this world. And I want to remind you to do the same. We all have superpowers, and we are all superheroes. How we choose to use these powers is completely up to us. Do you want to be a super bummer Debbie Downer? No offense, Debbies out there, unless you're a downer. Knock that shit off. Or do you want to shine bright like a superstar that you are and spread your light to all those that come in contact with you so they can do the same? Tell yourself how great you are right now. Tell yourself how beautiful you are, how intelligent and necessary you are. And believe nothing less of yourself, ever. A good practice to help you begin getting into this habit is to first thing in the morning, before you look at your phone, which should definitely not be your go-to in the first place and first thing in the morning, or before you talk to your partner or even open your eyes, just take a moment to talk yourself up. Tell yourself all of the amazing things that you want to hear about yourself. It may feel like you're lying at first, but that is just because the darkness doesn't want you to believe the truth. And if you're having a hard time coming up with things to say to yourself that are awesome, just take a moment and think about the person that you admire most and all of the amazing things that you would say to them. And then say those things to yourself instead. Have patience and be devoted to yourself and keep it up. I promise that you will see a change. Every day, all day, anytime you catch yourself falling back into those toxic thoughts, again, just remind yourself of your truth. Write it down on a piece of paper and carry it with you to read when you start hearing those bad thoughts, if that's what feels good to you. Whatever you need to do. Make a note in your phone or a reminder to pop up at a certain time every day to remind you of your truth. Whatever you have to do to flip the script of your internal self-talk dialogue into something that makes you feel love and magic. Because that's why we're here. To find purpose in our lives, to give ourselves that purpose. Because you are more than worth it. I would love to hear from you, and I know this practice transforms your life, and I just want to hear about your stories, about how flipping your self-talk dialogue has transformed your life and how you've seen such a difference. So please just send me a message or, connect with me in any way that you can think of. I'd love to connect with all of you beauties. I have an Instagram, anything. Don't be afraid to reach out and introduce yourself. I look so forward to hearing from you.